So I started our recording. I'm just going to read your intro in. I count down, I read you in, and then I'll ask you about your story and welcome you to the show. And we will be, oh, Bridget, how do I pronounce your last name?
A chick, like a baby chick.
A chick?
Yeah, or I'm a girl, I'm a chick.
A chick.
A
You're a
chick,
chick.
yeah. Yeah.
I'll never forget that now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get us started. Hello, Lissa, it's Jan, and I'm here with Bridget Utschig, which I'm sure that you just heard us going over, but I'm going to get us started on her podcast feature. So 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I'm here with Bridget Utschig. Bridget is a wife, former teacher, and full-time mama to 3. Bridget's into Jesus, coffee, and simple low-tox living. She's here to simplify your hectic life naturally while learning how to slow down and laugh at life's little messes. Bridget loves helping moms simplify and organize. When life gets messy, she enjoys using essential oils and low-tox options when it comes to cleaning and beauty products. Bridget believes life doesn't have to be hectic. You can simplify and make more time for what really matters most. Hi, Bridget. I'm so excited to
Hi,
have you
Jana.
here.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Bridget's the mom of twins, which I love because who doesn't need to simplify their life when you're getting double everything, right?
Exactly, exactly.
So one of the things we do here on the show is we share our stories of hope. And I know that you have an incredible story of hope, and it's led you into being the magnificent person you are right now. And would you want to share that with us?
Yes, I will. I think the intro kind of explained a little bit, but I am a mom to twins. And then I'm also, at the same time, I had a 2-year-old. Well, I had those twins. So I had 3 in diapers at one time. So my life was a little bit hectic. And I kind of mentioned, the intro mentioned too, that I was a former teacher and a former daycare teacher. So I have a lot of experience with children and organizing and planning and that kind of thing. But I ended up staying home with my twins, who are a boy and girl, and then also my son. So, and I married my high school sweetheart. But a little bit about my story. So I, like Jana mentioned, I do help moms kind of simplify their own life because my life was hectic with being at home, and I thought I was an organized person, but really the clutter of life kind of, either mentally, physically, all around started to overwhelm me. So my story starts about 10 years ago, where my health really started to take a toll, where I didn't feel good. And this was before children, where, started having stomach digestive issues. I would have headaches. I had a lot of hormonal issues. I had endometriosis. I had hypothyroidism. So a lot of autoimmune issues. And, I'd go to the doctor and they'd put me on a medication. And, I believe that there's a time and place for medication, but it kept on being one medication right after another, and nothing really seemed to help. And I slowly got worse and worse and worse. And my husband, we started having children, and it took us 7 years where we actually had to go the in vitro route. And I wish I would have known what I know now, but back then I kind of just did what the doctors recommended. And, these should have been red flags to me, a lot of the stuff that was going on, but I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of just different things, especially the stomach issues were a big thing for me, where I constantly didn't feel good. So when we started trying, then we went through the whole infertility process, and I was put on a lot of medications. I remember, if any of you have ever went through any kind of infertility journey and went through the in vitro process, there is a whole box that shows up at your front doorstep, and all these different shots and things that you're being injected with. And even before that, being put on medications to just help that process move along. And I kind of, put my trust in doctors and just did what I was told to do. And so we went through that, and then I was put under a couple times. So again, there was a lot of toxins that were being built up in my body, along with all the medications for my hypothyroidism, for endometriosis, for the infertility that I was doing. So everything kept kind of piling up. And especially for me, I've always wanted children. So the stress of not being able to have children was also another big burden on myself. So with the combination of stress and all the toxins, after the first the first time we ended up making 4 that made it to the embryo stage. And so we froze 2 of them. And then the other one was with my first son. And that one didn't make it, but my first son ended up making it. And then after that, I kind of still felt sick. And then we were, as any new mom knows, that having a newborn and you think you're going to do all these things with them and you say you'll never do, and you end up doing anyway. So we had that first child, but I still felt sick. I always felt so just not right. There wasn't something right, and I never felt like my thyroid medication was working, or the endometriosis started to come back, whereas I had to have surgery because it was so severe. So little things like that, started to be red flags. But then I ended up getting pregnant with our twins, and going through that process of just the injections and just the whole process. When I actually had to have my twins, my girl was breached. So we had to have a C-section, and my spinal tap didn't work. So they had to put me under. So I never actually got to see the whole birth of my children, of both my twins. And that for me was really hard. But when I woke up, I was just a completely different person. And, I felt everything that it took me a while even to wake up from that whole process, and I was in so much pain that I couldn't even hold my babies, and that was really hard on me. But even after that, being in the hospital, it was draining on me. I think the mental side of it, and then also having a 2-year-old at home that's still in diapers, and then after a C-section, just all the medications that go into that, and all the toxins, and being put under. I never was the same, and from then on, I kind of just went downhill. And I would go from doctor to doctor, and they would tell me different things. Then I'd be put on this medication and put on a next medication. And so it was this big, long journey of 10 years of me just trying different doctors, trying things that work. But I always found that the holistic route really spoke to me. I started to use essential oils probably about 5 years ago, but I just like the way they smell, and I always gravitated towards it. But any kind of perfumes or any of that really, or any cleaning products, really kind of, I would get headaches and chemical sensitivity. So that was one of the first signs, that I should have probably realized. But then just feeling constantly sick and constantly having digestive issues, and even just after just the postpartum. And I'm generally a very bubbly person, so to go through that postpartum depression and that anxiety, I knew wasn't right. And I tried the medication route, but it actually made it 10 times worse. And that's where I thought, I want to try something that's natural, that's holistic. And once I started doing that, I found the Wellness Way. And if you guys are looking for doctors, I recommend them 100%. They're all throughout the US. But they really started to make me understand my body as a whole, and not just my thyroid, and not just endometriosis, and not my infertility. But they really, helped me to focus on, well, there's a lot of toxins in your life that we need to get rid of. So then that's what kind of triggered me to start posting of my journey with it. And then even the stress side of it, I didn't realize how much my stress was affecting my health. And now I realize, if any of you have ever had the Dutch test done, it's the best test for your hormones. And it actually showed me that my cortisol was extremely elevated, and that was causing some of my sleep issues. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I was so tired with twins, but I couldn't sleep. And then now I'm realizing too that I have too much estrogen. So a lot of those issues, they just help me to understand my body. But it's not just, here, take this pill. It's a whole let's look at your cleaning products. Let's look at your beauty products. Let's look at what you're putting on your skin, but then let's also look at the mental side of it. What are you doing as a mother to improve your well-being, and not just keep stressing yourself out? So that's kind of where I came to evolve into the person that I'm in. And then I started posting on Instagram and Facebook and different kind of more natural ideas. So my whole thing is to help other moms simplify their hectic lives naturally, trying to do it in a natural way as much as possible. And I found that my body just started responding to those little tiny changes. It wasn't one thing, I think, that switched it, but it was those little changes that with the toxins and the stress. And while throughout this whole process, I just felt this tug at my heart to be able to to simplify. I kept being referred back to that word, to simplify, to make life easier. Why am I trying to make things so hard when there's so many things out there with simplifying? So that's kind of how I started my journey and how I got to this point. And I want to help other moms, especially with that stress side of it. I think is so huge that we think we can do it by ourselves. But, sometimes it's nice to take a step back and realizing that we need help and there's other ways of going about it rather than, medication. So that's a little bit about my journey.
I love your journey. And for those of you who have not found her on Instagram, people know, like, I have a lot of followers on Instagram. And so for a page to really stand out, that's how we met, was through Instagram, because her page is phenomenal and you're going to love it. There's so many tips there. There's all kinds of recipes, how you simplify. There's information on essential oils, which I'm a huge fan and lover of. So what is it that you do now, as far as how are you helping moms simplify their lives?
Yeah, so like you had mentioned, just on Facebook and Instagram. So a lot of the photos that you see are actual photos of me. And if it's something that I struggle with, or if it's something that I post, it's usually something that I struggle with. So that's where I like to put out things that I'm doing in my life to help simplify my life. So whether it's in my cleaning products, making beauty products, making all natural face wash, making all natural hand soap, really simplifying those ingredients. And a lot of the products that we see out there right now that say they're natural or, they're known companies, they really have a lot of ingredients in there that are toxic. So I like to know what's going into my products and to make them and to simplify that. But then as a mom, look at things. I really like decluttering. That's kind of my thing. And I was always a really organized person, but it would always become cluttered again. So it always, with the clutter, it always would come back. But what I realized is that I really just need to get rid of a lot of things. Because with twins, when I had those babies, I had 2 of everything and I was prepared, but it was so overwhelming. Just the amount of toys or gadgets and things that our society tells us that we need to have when we have babies, and really we don't need a lot of it. But if I just would have simplified, but it just felt like my whole house had vomited twin toys and twin baby everything all over the place. So that's where I started to even look at the toy side of it, because I realized that these toys were stressing me out because I had to pick up them all the time, and I was constantly picking up stuff. And I think that's one thing as a mom that we kind of feel like we always do. And I still do pick up stuff, but not as much as what I did. So I talk about toy rotation and how important that is, where I did that when I was at the daycare and I would rotate out toys. But instead of having a whole toy room full of toys, you only have 8 bins where the kids actually play with them more. So it's things like that just to make your life a little bit easier. So I try to take those pictures and post them, and then, again, try to show some videos of how to simplify and how to get you just thinking about a different, less toxic route to what our world is offering out there.
I love you talking about toys. I remember when my kids were little, I also had 3 in diapers, and no twins. I just call them Irish twins because they were all less than a year apart. But when they were little, I remember going to their kindergarten class for the first time, and I used to carry a bin around, and if I asked them to clean up something and they didn't, it went in the bin in the top of the closet, and they didn't get it back for a while. But when I went to their class, I was blown away, because when they were done with all their blocks or whatever activity they were doing, not only did they put them in the correct bins, you would see them get up, put them away, and push their chairs in. And I'm like, why are they not doing this at home? Like, who are these kids? It's possible, right? And so I love how you're simplifying your home, because it's ingraining in them what goes where, how things move, the process of everything, and they're able to like wrap their little minds around it and participate.
Yes, and I try to incorporate them as, it's not perfect, but I try to incorporate them they know that we have bins downstairs, that if they want something new or if they get something new, that they have to replace that with something else and get rid of something. So even if something is creating that in them already, they know that they'll just say, hey, Mom, can you sell this, or can you get rid of it? So it's kind of funny that they already know, and just how blessed they are with toys, because I feel like as Americans, we're consumers and we just want one more thing. And, but then at the end of the day, as much as you try to get your children to pick up, sometimes, the mom ends up being the one in the end to kind of get the brunt of it. But even things like their wardrobe too, which I thought I needed all these clothes, and really to simplify that, I'm not quite a minimalist, but my girl doesn't need 6 pairs of shoes, where I just did a post on, if you can have 4 or less shoes, that would be great, where yes, you can be practical. And as with a girl, especially because I have 2 boys, I like to do all the fun, cute stuff with her. But even looking at how many dresses does she really need? How many leggings does she actually need? If you're simplifying your laundry and doing it every day, that was one thing that I kind of learned too, that it was my mission for this year to simplify my laundry. And what I found, that doing laundry every day actually does help. If you can just do one load, I would save it up until the end, and then I just feel like I have mountains and mountains full of laundry. So just those kind of tips. Again, it's usually something what I struggle with, and then I try to simplify and make easier for my life. And I just want to share with other moms, because I think it's so important that we can support each other. And I feel like I'm not the only one that can be struggling with this. So I want to share with others and make their life a little easier for them.
What are a couple of tips you can share with moms? Like maybe 1 or 2 tips that you can give them that will help simplify their life today?
Yeah. Oh boy, there's so many. One thing that I think, I just did this one on packing, and I've actually had a couple friends ask me about this, but instead of bringing 5 individual bags, so we have 5 people in our family, I'm just using that as an example, but we actually take one big tote and we put all the clothes in. So when I'm doing laundry throughout the week, and we're ready to go up to the cabin just for a weekend trip, I put all the clothes into one bin. So as I'm doing laundry throughout the week, I take, and if they need a pair of jammies or whatever it is, it's simplifying for me, because, and quite honestly, I don't even fold it. I kind of just throw it in there because they're going to pull it out and it's going to be all over the place. And that's another simplifying tip, is I don't fold, and to each their own on this, but I don't fold my kids' laundry. It just goes in their drawers, and because they take and pull it out anyway. But back to the packing thing, it's nice. And then I take it and I unload it into drawers, and then when they're done with it, it goes back into the tote, and that's laundry. So that's been a tip that's been kind of helpful, that I felt like on the weekends we would just take so much stuff up to our cabin, and I felt like half the time I was packing. So I have one tote for clothes, and then I have one tote for food, and that's it. That's what we bring up. And I guess if we need something else, we can go run and get it, but for the most part, we haven't had to do that. So that's one tip. And like I mentioned before, so the toy rotation is huge. I'm a true believer on that one. If you can come up with some kind of system, and if you want to go to my Instagram page, you can kind of see how I do that, and I walk you through that whole process. Another simplifying tip would be to look at your wardrobe. And if you have ever heard of a capsule wardrobe, I'm not quite to the point of being a minimalist, but just looking at your clothes, and even I was thinking, oh, I should get new clothes for this summer, but really I could just go shopping in my own closet and picking out those staple pieces. And that's the same with our kids, picking out solid colors that they can mix and match and go back and forth. And I like to, right now I'm in yoga pants and a workout shirt. That's generally what I wear. But when I do want to go out, I used to teach where I needed more teaching clothes, but right now, it's what do you need right now? And maybe you are going to fluctuate between weight, but I would recommend just really simplifying your clothes. And I have a lot of friends too that they ask, what do you do with your clothes when you get rid of them? And I kind of let a couple of friends go through them, or I can donate them, but they love it too, because it kind of switches up a variety of their wardrobe that they have. So that's one thing that I've enjoyed, that I don't need to keep up with the styles. I try to use just more accessories to do that, but really figuring out what we need in life versus wants. And that's been a huge step for me to simplify. And then one last tip too is just to use things that are reusable, where even your water bottles, or using things like a water pick instead of floss, or just stuff that we can reuse. Especially, we just had the COVID going on, where I didn't have to go out and buy a lot of things. I could make my hand soap, I could make my hand sanitizer, I could make my, shampoos, soaps, that kind of thing. So it's just been helpful to take a step back and look at how we can simplify our own life, but also being a smart consumer too. And when we do go out and purchase things, to purchase things that we want, instead of things that we need, that are really valuable, instead of buying a whole bunch of things that are inexpensive, that are going to break.
One of my favorite things on your Instagram page is your meal preps. And when you have a family, that is hard, especially if you're a working mom. If you're working and you're taking care of kids and trying to build your career, as a huge part of the country is, what are some of those fun things you do with meal prep?
Yeah, so with meal prep, I really gravitated towards the one sheet pans, but what I found is that the sheet was too big to put into the dishwasher. So I started getting these kind of oversized baking glass sheets, because you want to cook in glass, nothing with nonstick or that kind of thing. So the typical 9 by 12, it's a little bigger than that. It's a 4-quart, and then you can put more food in it. But what I would do at the beginning of the week, so I kind of have this plan that I do where I get 5 meats, 5 veggies, and 5 either carbs or grains. So I do like to try to eat healthy. I have a lot of food allergies, so I try to stick to a lot of the healthier foods. But then what I'll do is I'll make a row of vegetables, and I'll make a row of meat, and then I'll make a row of the grains or pasta, whatever it is, and I'll pre-cook the quinoa or the pasta ahead of time. So you can either mix it, because I have some picky eaters. Sometimes I like to keep it separate, but then using your herbs, and sometimes I use essential oils, or sometimes I use whatever herbs I need to use up, and sprinkling those across it along with some olive oil and popping it in the oven for 350 degrees, and it's good. So that's the way I pretty much cook. That's about the only pan that I use, and I post a lot of recipes on just different kind of varieties. But even if you just kind of keep that in mind when you're meal prepping, because that can go right in the dishwasher, and that's your only pan that you use. Whereas before, I'd use 5 or 6 different pans to cook the pasta, to cook the meat, all together in one. So I am hoping to eventually get out a meal prep printable here that we can list, and just how to prep and plan, and how to take, just a couple hours, whether it be on Sunday, and not even hours, minutes, just to chop up those meals ready to go. Last night I made one. I had asparagus, and I had gluten-free pasta, and then I also had some organic sausage that was already in my fridge, and just threw that all together, and I had some quinoa, some olive oil, and mixed it together. So really a lot of they're not gourmet meals, but they're simplified, and they're things that I know, my kids, or people will ask me if my kids actually eat all of it, and no, they don't, but it's good to introduce them to those foods, and they do eat some of it, which is good. So, some of it, they may turn their noses up or with the vegetable part of it, but I want to keep exposing them to it. But how can I do that in a simplified way? And, I'm not a shorthand cook either, so I don't want to make 10 different meals for my kids. I've kind of had that from the beginning, that I'm not going to make them separate meals. So this is just a way that kind of marries healthy eating for me. My husband enjoys it, and then also my kids can pick and choose what they like out of it too. So that's a way that I absolutely love. I don't know if I'll go to a different way of cooking, but I really enjoy doing it that way.
I want to talk a little bit about, because I know you have an incredible freebie offer, and I don't normally talk about the freebie offer, but yours is so amazing. I want to just talk a little bit about what it is, so that people could go in and grab it and get excited for it, because I was really excited when you showed it to me. And it's all about low tox cleaning, right? Simplifying your life. And I don't think people really understand how toxic the products we are using to disinfect our home are. Sometimes they're worse than what we're trying to get rid of. So, and the other thing is, when you have little kids, they're walking around barefooted on the floor. Where are they absorbing? Through the bottoms of their feet, right? All those toxins that you think you're using to clear up any kind of bacteria that might be left behind. So do you want to talk a little bit about this incredible free offer you have?
Yeah, no. So the low tox freebie, I know a lot of people get overwhelmed when they think, oh, I need to do everything all right away, and I need to get rid of all my products. But what I would recommend would be to simplify and slowly get rid of those products, because yes, you did spend money on the products that you had before, but there's this app too called Think Dirty, and I use it quite frequently, but it tells you how toxic your cleaning products are, how toxic your beauty products are, and it rates them on a scale from 1 to 10. So I talk a lot about that on my Instagram, and just rating your products to see what's actually in them. But with this, you can use a lot of household stuff that you already have around your house, like baking soda and vinegar. And, if you do have essential oils or witch hazel. So once you have those things, you can make these products, and for pennies, you can make a cleaner for 20 cents instead of $5, which is amazing. So I would recommend slowly simplifying, and that's what I do. I kind of broke down different parts of the house of how you could simplify your ingredients. So there's one on the closet, and even just using a cotton ball and putting some essential oil on it to smell, or to your hand soap that you have, so in your bathroom and your cleaning products. And so I kind of go throughout the whole house, and just to at least get you started with of things that if you're feeling very overwhelmed by looking at it, that you can take those recipes and just start with those to kind of get you started, so you don't feel so overwhelmed and so feel like you got to do everything all at once.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much for being on the episode today. I was really excited to have you. I hope you guys start stalking her Instagram like I do. It is every day there's something new and exciting on there, and I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.